So welcome everybody. I have my client here, Joe. And today we're going to be talking about the journey, right? So I really wanted to do this interview because I want to talk about and share the journey of being an author. Like, it's not just a one-day thing. You know, when you write a book, it's a continuous journey. And so Joe wrote his book. I think we released it about 2 years ago, right?
Correct.
Okay. So we released it about 2 years ago. And so I just want you to kind of share your journey about how that looked and how everything is going now.
Okay. Well, my book was published in March 2021. Shannon helped me through her company, Pop Publishing, to get my ideas out there in some print. So, from that moment, I had the opportunity to share my words with many people and my thoughts with many people as a result of having this book available on several platforms at the time. So I'm just excited to have Shannon offer her services to allow that to happen for me. And as a result of that, a lot of opportunities became available.
Okay, so let's speak to that, right? So I know that I recently saw you on Facebook, and you were talking about, your speaking engagements and things of that nature that you had been able to get with the book. And then I also saw that you had it in a library. So I wanted to talk to you about that. So first, let's start with the library journey, right?
Sure.
And kind of speak to the people a little bit about how that happened for you.
Yeah. After my book was released, the niche that it's in is well, first of all, the title of my book is called Anatomy of Your Decision Making.
Mm-hmm.
And it was aimed for the emerging adult demographic, ages around 17 to about 25 years old, where these people are beginning to make decisions that will not only impact their lives, but the impact of the lives of those around them that support them as well. So in that particular niche, it allows those individuals and those that care for those individuals to learn better ways to make choices to yield more positive outcomes. So with that being said, the library journey was, somebody mentioned to me, they said, have you ever considered putting your book in the library? After they read my book, they said it was really practical, way they can understand it, and it wasn't a large book, but it was just enough information that people could take. And I said, no, I never thought about that. So I contacted my local library and I said, look, I'm a local author and I would like the opportunity to put my book on your shelf. And how can I do that? So they were able to look up my information through Amazon or Book a Million. I'm not sure which channel they use. I think it was Amazon. And next thing I know, I got an email saying that my book was going to be on the shelf. And so that was how it got there. Yep.
Awesome. Right. It's not super complicated, right? You have a good product, right? You have a good product, you write a good book, then those opportunities can definitely open for you. So let's talk about even the speaking. So let's talk about a little bit more about the Anatomy of Your Decision Making. That's the name of his book. And let's talk a little bit more about the speaking engagements and the other opportunities that came about.
Sure. Well, the book came about initially because I always had a message about the decisions we make and, where we are today as a result of the decisions that we made in the past, So with that information, I was able to, since I have the book, I was able to present it to different organizations that do professional development or a school for youth leadership or whatever it may be that was along those channels to say, hey, this is my service, this is my book, this is my message. And I wanted to know, if this is something that would be beneficial to them. So as a result of that, having the book, for example, I was booked by a city to do a professional development. So, they purchased a large amount of books, and I was able to talk as a professional development contractor to the employees of the city. I also was able to work with a TRIO organization at one of the colleges that are local around here to speak to their graduating students for a lunch event that they had as a result of the message in my book. And I also did many, some podcasts, some different interviews as a result of that. So, it's opening up some doors. I've had interviews with people across the pond, they call it, in Europe as well,
Wow.
who were interested in learning about what I do and what I'm about.
Yes. Yes, I love that, because so many people just try to stay in their neighborhood or in their, community, but a book is worldwide. You can do anything. So let's talk more about the associations and organizations, because I love speaking about bulk selling, right? So when people are thinking about books, they're like, oh, we're selling one by one. And I'm like, no, you can literally sell hundreds of books at a time, thousands of books at one time with one vendor or one organization. So talk to us a little bit about how that looks.
All right. Well, for the most part, when it comes to my speaking businesses, there's different ways they can hire me. They can either hire me to speak, or they can hire me through my product, and they purchase a certain amount for what they need. And that's how I get to speak to them, so they can see me on that side. But then they also have the material in front of them, so they can take it and share with others as an option. So that's one way that I've experienced that the book was able to, I could sell it that way as well.
Right. And so, like, especially if you are a speaker or you're looking to be a speaker, you definitely need a book, right? Because it's like, what are you offering people when you get off the stage? Not only that, if you're working with an organization, a lot of them are looking for people who have a proven record, right? So they can look at your book, they can read the book and say, okay, I know that this person knows what they're talking about, and I don't mind paying them. Or if we're not paying them, I'm just going to buy a certain amount of your books, right? And then provide them to our staff or students or whomever. So there's so many different ways to create income, which I love. So talk to me a little bit about as far as the journey. So when you first began, right? And when you first came out, how did you feel? Did you feel, excited? Did you feel a little bit overwhelmed? Like, what did that look like?
Initially, once the book dropped, it felt a little overwhelming because of, the responses, social media, just the advertisement of it all. The message was always the same. It's just the exposure, who I am and what people wanted was out there at that time. So I was like, wow, everything was really quick. But after that, it's more about, once the initial of here I am and this is what I have. Now it's all about continuing to promote the product and who I am and what I can do, because the book is going to be there. I mean, the message, like I said, stays the same. It's just how it's presented, and let people know that it's out there. If they didn't have an opportunity to see it the first time around, it's still there for them to take advantage of now, and that's a benefit.
Now let's talk about that, right? Because it feels so good to just do something one time and you get paid for a lifetime, right? Like you do not have to go back and write this book again. All you have to do is just say, go click here, order my books, or take some books and sell them. So talk to people about how that feels like when you get those royalty checks on a regular, when people are buying the books and you're like, man, I wrote this thing 2 years ago and I'm still making money on this thing 2 years later.
Yeah, you know what? When I see an email that pops up that says I have a royalty coming in on a certain day, I'm like, wow, people are actually looking at this. Some of them, some of them, it was through a prompt, and some of us like, oh wow, somebody found this somewhere, or it was told to them and they picked it up. And I was like, that's a blessing to be able to know that it has had an impact on somebody, or the message behind it kind of was the facilitator for them to pick it up. So that was a great thing.
So talk to people about those who are maybe afraid to write their books or put their book out, right?
Sure.
Kind of talk to them about the benefits of it and why you think they should or should not.
Well, for me, I never wanted to be an author, but I always had something that I wanted to share and didn't really know how to do it. I mean, I didn't really have large audiences or know exactly who to talk to about it. So, when we were during the pandemic and being locked in the house at that time, I said, this is a perfect opportunity to step out my comfort zone to write something down and to leave a legacy for my family and friends. So I could actually have an opportunity to discipline myself, to take my thoughts, put it on paper, and that process itself was training for me, because if I wanted to get something done, I had to prepare myself and commit myself to the project. Okay, so that's what I was able to do, and but once it was done, it was a sigh of relief, and the time before it actually was actually published, it was just like preparing through advertisements and say it's upcoming and this is what's out there to get myself out there. But I believe as a result of the commitment to get it done, I look back now and say, wow, that was a moment in my life where I had to invest of my time, my energy, financial resources to be able to say, you know what, this will have an outcome at the end of this as a result of the decision that I made. I'm kind of like talking about topics in my book, but that's what it was all about. It says if I do this, this will be the outcome, and it'll be worth it in the end. So as a result of that, though, I've had an opportunity to get my book in the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. And that was a big move for me because I've done fairs out there, author fairs there. I've been doing wellness fairs, like I said, training events, whether it's at a school or city government. It's put me out there. My message, like I said, remains the same. I present it in different ways for whatever is necessary, but the book is practical. So
I love that. So, okay, help me understand the angle, because I talk to my clients about their talking points and things of that nature. So the angle of getting into the civil rights, like how did you, because you can take your book and make it be anything to anybody if you know what you're doing, right? So that's why I teach my clients. So what was the angle that you gave them about, your book to put it in their museum?
Well, at that time I was a newer author, and I was telling myself I need to be able to present myself in public and share my product. So I started doing some research online about author fairs, what was out there, and I went, and there was some place that says on this date at this time here's an opportunity. If you want to make an investment out there to come out to introduce yourself, whether it be as an author talk or a part of the fair. So I had the opportunity to do both. I met other authors. I've learned from them, as well as, like I said, put my book on the bookshelf. That's a big thing. Once on the bookshelves, people from all over who go into the Institute can see my book there, and that was a great opportunity. So I didn't want to leave it down.
Awesome. Well, I thank you so much, Joe. Was there anything you'd like to tell the people? Let them know how they can reach you, how they can buy the book. Okay.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Shannon, again for putting me out there and giving me an opportunity. But my book, my website is at kinleyspeaks.org. You can reach me there. Also, you can find me on Facebook at Kinley Speaks, and my Instagram is Kinley Speaks as well. So I try to keep that simple. But for the most part, my website's a great start for you to reach me, www.kenleyspeaks.org. And in LinkedIn as well. You can find me on LinkedIn, same thing. And I have little breakdowns of my talk in little nugget segments called Topic Chat. And you can find some information about that as well.
Awesome. So everybody, he is Kinley Speaks everywhere, kinleyspeaks.org. Make sure that you go on Amazon, get the book, Anatomy of Your Decision Making. Thank you so much, Joe. This is so exciting. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a good day.